the City of Johannesburg says incidents of cable theft and vandalism are increasing in the metro. This past weekend alone, 17 cases were reported. Some of the areas that were affected include Fleurhof, Glen Lea and Florida substations. Joining us now is the spokesperson for City Power, Isaac Mangena. Mr. Mangena, thank you very much for your time. Let's pick up on these incidents. 17 of them reported just this past weekend alone. Clearly, you are not winning this war. What interventions do you have in place to prevent this from continuing?
Thanks for having us, and good morning, Chloe, and good morning to the viewers at home. Yes, we are really under siege in terms of the cable thieves and vandalism incidents out there. We have seen an increase, as you rightfully pointed out in your intro, whereby over the weekend we recorded about 17 incidents of cable theft and vandalism. 8 of those were in the Rooterport area, which is really becoming a hot spot in terms of the vandalism that is happening. Cables are stolen almost on a daily basis in Rooterport, fuses, and even the lights, the light fittings, they're being stolen in that area. But also the sad one is basically the vandalism that is happening on the mini substations, where you find wires cut and left open like that, which suggests some level of sabotage that is happening. From the 1st of January to today, we have recorded about 19 incidents of cable theft and vandalism in Rooterport alone, not across the city of Johannesburg, but in Rooterport alone. So you can see that there is some level of criminality that we really need to focus on. We are working with the police and the JMPD, but we are also obviously beefing up our own security from City Power to ensure that at least we increase visibility in all the areas that we have identified as hotspots.
Yeah, Mr. Mangena, it's quite easy to make assumptions here, and I stress the word assumption. Have you, as City Power, investigated just by yourselves as to whether there are companies that deal in copper cables or scrap metal nearby the area of Rooterport? Because clearly this is a target area for criminals, just so that you are able to satisfy yourselves that these aren't people who are stealing from you only to sell to the neighbors who are obviously in business nearby. Are there such companies operating there? And what is law enforcement saying?
Yes, we have. We have done our own, analysis of where the problems are and obviously where these copper cables are going. But we're also working with the police. We are receiving reports from the police. We are in touch with the police because of the way the way this cable theft is actually increasing recently. You will also be aware that it's not only your electricity infrastructure that has been targeted. There's a lot of infrastructure where there's copper that is targeted. Plaza is having same problems. Transnet is also having same problems, the same as the telephone companies. So that is why we basically, through the office of the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Dr. Pallat, we wrote to the president and to the minister mid last year to basically say this is beyond us as the city of Johannesburg. We really need national intervention, and the president responded positively with the essential infrastructure task team. You'll remember that it started its work around mid last year, following many incidences of vandalism and theft of the infrastructure. So we are basically starting to having a forecast approach to these kind of crimes. And part of what we are doing with the police is basically to scout around for scrap metal dealers, because we believe that if we are able to deal with those, criminals will not find places where they can be able to sell these copper cables to. And we have been conducting several raids across Rudeport area, in fact across the city of Johannesburg, including Rudeport area, and we are basically putting most of those people through with the police under the radar. We are meeting with the police, the JMPD, the community policing forums, and even the neighborhood watch in Florida, in Rudeport on Thursday morning. And some of this is basically to ensure that we basically intensify some of the raids that we have already started in the area, but also to put in motion and tighten, some of the controls to ensure that we basically really deal with the increase in the incidence of copper cable in that area. But it is an issue that is happening across the city of Johannesburg, and also during the energy endeavor that we held in May last year, the Hawks head in Gauteng basically put a presentation of really worrying statistics around how the copper cable thieves operate. We are currently focusing obviously on Nyaupe boys on the street who are pulling the trolleys and so forth, but it's actually multinational companies, it's actually transnational. The copper that is stolen from South Africa finds its way across the borders of South Africa into the international markets, and that is where the problem is. He actually pointed out that South Africa is exporting a lot of copper, more than we actually produce in the country. So where is that copper coming from? It's coming from these cables that are being stolen on a daily basis, and that's where we want the police to basically put more resources and focus on to ensure that at least they deal with this. You remember that the City Power, our job, really primary job, is basically to provide electricity. We don't arrest, we don't do investigations, but we do have security that actually works with the police, and that's where most of the arrests are happening.
Yeah, finally and very briefly, Mr. Mangena, so the areas that are affected, as we mentioned them earlier, what can you tell them if there are those that still are subjected to darkness as a result of this theft? But also, importantly, you mentioned the head of the Hawks in Gauteng. Are you working with the Hawks? Because we know that they are definitely working hand in glove with Eskom.
Yes, the areas that were plunged into darkness because of cable theft have been, most of them have been restored. Some of them are still outstanding, including the areas around Christian Divet and also Florida. Velgehevel is also still out because of the feather faults that we found. Because remember, when a cable is stolen, you find that it affects the network downstream, and it means that even when you replace the cable, you also have to basically deal with some of the issues that are happening downstream, including on the equipment like the mini substations that are connecting those cables. So we found that we've actually, in fact, one of those actually blew up in around Rudeport as after we just replaced the cables. So we have actually moved the needle in terms of repairs and restorations of most of those customers that were off since the weekend due to cable theft. On the issue of our involvement with the Hawks, we have meetings with the SAPS police, the Hawks, and other units within the police almost on a daily basis, because that's where we basically compare notes as to how many incidents have we recorded overnight and where we need to go, and how many how many arrests have been made, just to give an idea and to show that there is some improvement in terms of what we're doing. We have recorded about 147 arrests since this financial year started, 2022-2023. That is a little bit above from the 111 that we had the previous year. So you can see that there is some positives in terms of the police work, the Hawks work on the ground, intelligence work on the ground, in conjunction with the security and the communities that we're dealing with, because we believe that for us to win the war against cable theft, the communities should be central to that operation, because most of these criminals, the thieves, stay among the communities. But also you find that in areas like, as I mentioned, Rudeport, where is our focus, you find that there are already neighborhood watch, there are already security systems on the ground dealing with other criminal activities that are that are there.
All
So
right.
we want to tap into those so that they can be able to assist City Power in terms of protecting our infrastructure.
Isaac Mangena, spokesperson for City Power, thank you very much for your time and indeed the information you have given on this matter. All right.